A quiet alliance is emerging on the global stage, one that could reshape the balance of power as we know it. China, Iran, and Russia, three nations with distinct histories, cultures, and ambitions, are beginning to move in closer alignment. But what's driving this collaboration, and what does it mean for the rest of the world? In today's video, we'll dive deep into the strategic motivations behind this emerging bloc, its potential impact on global economics and geopolitics, and what the future might hold if these nations continue to strengthen their ties. From energy deals to military cooperation, these countries are building bridges that could challenge the dominance of the West. We'll also examine the historical context, economic imperatives, and political strategies that are bringing these three nations together. Economic and military cooperation. As we look at the economic ties that are bringing China, Iran, and Russia closer together, it's clear that money and resources are just as important as shared beliefs and political goals. Energy is at the center of this partnership, a resource so important that it can change the balance of global power. China, the world's largest energy consumer. China's rise as a global superpower is fueled by its huge demand for energy. As the world's largest consumer of energy, China's economy relies on a steady and secure supply of oil and gas. With the West becoming more hostile towards Russia and Iran, China has found willing and necessary partners in them to meet its energy needs. Iran, which has some of the world's largest reserves of oil and gas, offers China a crucial source of energy without having to rely on the West. Similarly, Russia, rich in natural resources, has found in China a vast market ready to buy its energy as it faces growing isolation from Europe and North America. This energy partnership is not just about buying and selling, it's about creating an economic alliance that can withstand outside pressure. Major energy deals, securing the future. To strengthen this alliance, the three countries have made a series of major energy deals that are changing the global energy scene. For example, China has signed multi-billion-dollar contracts with Iran that go beyond just oil and gas. These deals include huge infrastructure projects that integrate Iran into China's Belt and Road Initiative, ensuring that Iranian energy flows smoothly into China's economy. For Iran, these deals are a lifeline, providing much-needed revenue and investment at a time when Western sanctions have crippled its economy. For Russia, turning to Asia has become essential. As Europe distances itself from Russian energy, Moscow has increased its exports of oil, gas, and coal to China. This shift is not just convenient, it's a strategic move that highlights the growing interdependence of these nations. Military and security cooperation. But economic ties alone don't make an alliance. The bond between China, Iran, and Russia is also being strengthened through military cooperation, seen in joint exercises and arms deals that show a deepening defense relationship. In a world where military power still plays a big role in global politics, these countries are making sure their alliance is strong on the battlefield as well as in the marketplace. Joint military exercises, a show of strength. One clear sign of this growing military cooperation is the joint exercises conducted by the armed forces of China, Russia, and Iran. These drills, held in different locations and environments, are not just about practicing military skills. They are a public display of unity and shared strength. When the navies of these three nations operate together in the Indian Ocean or the Mediterranean, they are sending a message to the world. This is a group that can and will defend its interests. Western military analysts watch these exercises closely, seeing the potential for a new military alliance that could challenge NATO's dominance in Europe, the US presence in Asia, and Western influence in the Middle East. Arms deals and technology, sharing, building up strength. Beyond joint exercises, military cooperation between these countries includes arms deals and technology sharing. Russia, with its advanced military technology, has been a key supplier of weapons to both Iran and China. The sale of advanced missile systems, aircraft, and naval technology to Iran has significantly strengthened Iran's military, especially in a region where it faces significant threats from Western-backed countries. China has also benefited from Russian military technology, which has played a key role in the rapid modernization of the Chinese military. These arms deals are more than just business. They are strategic decisions designed to create a military balance that can counter Western power in important regions. Countering Western military presence. The military cooperation between China, Iran, and Russia is also about pushing back against Western influence in their regions. In the Middle East, Iran sees this alliance as a way to challenge the US military presence, particularly in Iraq, Syria, and the Persian Gulf. For Russia, the partnership with China is crucial for countering NATO's expansion and maintaining its influence over former Soviet states. Meanwhile, China views this alliance as a buffer against US military bases in the Asia-Pacific, where American forces are positioned from South Korea to Japan and beyond. Together, these nations are working to create a new military balance, one that could reshape global politics for years to come. By combining their economic and military strategies, China, Iran, and Russia are not just forming an alliance. They are building a new power bloc with the potential to challenge the current global order. Whether this alliance will last is uncertain, but for now, it represents one of the most significant changes in global power dynamics in recent history, the history of cooperation and conflict. To understand the emerging alliance between China, Iran, and Russia, we must examine their historical interactions. China and Russia's long journey of rivalry and cooperation. The relationship between China and Russia has always been complicated. During the Cold War, they were supposed to be allies in the global socialist movement, but there was always underlying tension. The Sino-Soviet split in the 1960s showed that even countries with similar ideologies could become rivals. The border conflicts in the late 1960s were not just about different views on communism, but also about showing who was stronger. However, after the Cold War ended, a new chapter began. Russia needed new allies, and China, which was becoming a strong economic force, offered support. Their partnership has grown out of necessity as both countries seek to counter Western influence. Iran and Russia, a complicated and historical relationship. Iran's relationship with Russia is even more complex. During the time of the Great Game, when Russia and Britain were competing for influence in Persia, now Iran, Iran found itself caught between two powerful empires. In the Soviet era, their relationship was cooperative, but always marked by mistrust. The 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran and the Iran-Iraq War changed the dynamics again, with Russia carefully balancing its own interests in a very unstable region. After the Cold War, as Russia tried to regain influence in the Middle East, Iran became an important partner, especially in defense and energy. However, this relationship has always been marked by both cooperation and competition. China and Iran, from the ancient Silk Road to modern geopolitics. China and Iran have a long history together, dating back to the days of the ancient Silk Road. This trade network connected the Far East with the Middle East, allowing the exchange of goods, ideas, and culture. But in modern times, these connections faded due to the complex geopolitics of the 20th century. In recent decades, however, China and Iran have rekindled their relationship, driven by shared economic interests and a mutual distrust of Western power. Today, as China works to revive the Silk Road through its Belt and Road Initiative, Iran is once again playing a key role in this grand plan for global trade and connectivity. In recent years, a series of geopolitical pressures have brought these three nations closer together. The impact of US sanctions and the search for new partners. One of the biggest reasons for this alliance has been the United States' use of sanctions as a foreign policy tool. Both Iran and Russia have faced severe US sanctions, which have isolated them economically and politically. For Iran, decades of sanctions have severely damaged its economy, forcing it to look to the East for help. Russia has also been hit by increasing sanctions since it annexed Crimea in 2014, leading it to seek new economic partners. China, with its economic power and geopolitical goals, has stepped in as a crucial partner. Together, these three countries have found common ground in resisting Western economic pressure, and in doing so, they are creating a network of interdependence that could change global trade. China's Belt and Road Initiative, a strategic draw. China's Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, has also played a significant role in bringing Iran and Russia closer to China. This ambitious project aims to create a vast network of trade routes connecting Asia, Europe, and Africa, with China at its centre. For Iran and Russia, being part of the BRI offers more than just economic benefits. It provides a strategic advantage. For Iran, the BRI offers an alternative to the Western-dominated global economy, helping it to bypass sanctions and reach new markets. For Russia, it's a way to strengthen its influence in Central Asia and beyond, while countering Western economic power. Through the BRI, China has become the central link in a new alliance, connecting these three nations in a shared vision of a world with multiple centres of power. A shared goal, challenging Western dominance. At the core of this new alliance is a shared goal of challenging Western dominance, particularly that of the United States. China, Iran, and Russia each have their own disputes with the West, whether it's China's issues over Taiwan and the South China Sea, Iran's fight against US sanctions, or Russia's opposition to NATO's expansion. These disputes have fueled a common desire to create a world where power is more balanced, a world where no single country or group can dominate the others. This shared goal is what binds these three nations together, leading them to cooperate in ways that would have been unimaginable just a few decades ago. In this new global landscape, China, Iran, and Russia are not just temporary allies. They are strategic partners aiming to challenge the current world order and assert their place on the global stage. Geopolitical implications, challenging Western power. As China, Iran, and Russia grow closer, it's clear that their alliance is more than just a regional partnership. It's a deliberate effort to change global power dynamics. Together, these countries are positioning themselves as a strong counterbalance to Western influence, challenging the dominance that the United States and its allies have held for decades. Working together in international forums. One of the most noticeable ways this alliance shows itself is in international meetings like those at the United Nations. Whether it's blocking resolutions that threaten their interests or opposing Western-led initiatives, China, Iran, and Russia are starting to act together. For example, they often resist sanctions or military actions proposed by Western countries. By coordinating their diplomatic efforts, these nations not only protect their own interests, but also show the world that there's a new power bloc that can influence global decisions. At the UN and other international bodies represents a major shift in global governance, where Western dominance is being increasingly challenged. Impact on global energy markets. Beyond diplomacy, this alliance has significant economic implications, especially in global energy markets. As China secures its energy needs through long-term contracts with Russia and Iran, it is gradually shifting power away from Western oil companies that have traditionally controlled the market. This energy partnership is more than just about securing supplies. It's about creating a new energy order. If China, Iran, and Russia can effectively coordinate their energy strategies, they could potentially reduce the influence of Western energy companies and even set new pricing standards that challenge the current system. This shift could have wide-reaching effects, not just for energy markets, but for the global economy as a whole. Creating alternative financial systems. One of the most ambitious goals of this alliance is to develop alternative financial systems and trade networks that bypass Western-controlled mechanisms like SWIFT. The sanctions on Iran and Russia have forced these countries to find new ways to conduct international trade, and China, with its strong economy, is leading these efforts. By creating alternative payment systems, such as China's Cross-Border Interbank Payment System, CIPS, and promoting the use of their own currencies in trade, this bloc could weaken the dominance of the US dollar in global trade. If successful, these initiatives could reduce the power that Western countries have over global financial systems, leading to a significant shift in global economic power. Regional and global effects. The rise of the China-Iran-Russia alliance is already causing changes in global politics, with potential effects far beyond their own borders. This new power group is likely to change alliances, reshape regional dynamics, and even influence global conflicts. Changing power in the Middle East. In the Middle East, Iran's new support from China and Russia could lead to major changes in the region's power dynamics. Historically isolated and often under threat from its neighbours in the West, Iran now has the backing of two major powers that can provide not only military and economic help, but also diplomatic support. This could make Iran more confident in its regional policies, whether in Syria, Iraq, or Yemen, where it has been involved in various conflicts. With China and Russia supporting it, Iran might feel more secure in asserting its influence, which could lead to shifts in alliances and power structures in the Middle East. Implications for Europe. For Europe, the rise of this alliance brings complex and potentially troubling challenges. Europe relies heavily on Russian energy, and its trade relations with China are crucial for its economy. However, as this new bloc becomes more solid, Europe may find itself in a difficult position, caught between its economic interests and its political and military alliances with the United States. If tensions between this bloc and the West increase, Europe could face tough choices, especially if Russia decides to use its energy exports as leverage, or if China uses its economic ties as a political tool. The long-standing relationship between Europe and the United States could be tested in ways that haven't been seen since the Cold War. Global stability, conflict, or peace. On a larger scale, the rise of this alliance raises important questions about global stability. Could this new power group lead to new conflicts? Or could it actually help stabilize a world that's becoming more multipolar? On one hand, the assertiveness of China, Iran, and Russia could lead to clashes with the West, particularly in tense areas like the South China Sea, Eastern Europe, or the Middle East. On the other hand, this bloc could contribute to a more balanced global order where no single power dominates. By challenging Western dominance, this alliance might prevent unilateral actions that could lead to conflicts, thereby contributing to a more stable, though more competitive, global landscape. In the end, the rise of the China-Iran-Russia alliance is not just a change in geopolitics, it's a sign of a world in transition, where old rules no longer apply, and new power structures are being built. Whether this will lead to a more peaceful world, or one filled with new tensions remains to be seen, but one thing is certain. The global order is changing, and the effects will be felt everywhere. The future of the alliance, strengths and weaknesses of the bloc. As the alliance between China, Iran, and Russia grows stronger, it's important to understand both what binds these nations together and what could potentially weaken their cooperation. On the surface, their economic partnership looks strong. China's massive industrial economy needs a steady supply of energy, which Russia and Iran, rich in natural gas and oil, can provide. This energy partnership is crucial for powering China's economy. Additionally, Russia's military strength, combined with China's rapidly modernizing armed forces and Iran's strategic position in the Middle East, creates a powerful alliance that's hard to ignore. However, there are potential cracks in this alliance. One major challenge is the different goals and regional interests of each member. Russia is focused on maintaining its influence in Eastern Europe and Central Asia, while Iran is deeply invested in the Middle East. China, meanwhile, has global ambitions that reach far beyond its borders, aiming to become the dominant power in Asia and beyond. These different priorities could lead to disagreements, especially if one nation's interests conflict with another's strategic goals. For example, Russia's cautious approach to its relationship with Europe might not always match China's more aggressive global stance. External pressures could also test the strength of this alliance. The West, particularly the United States and its allies, is likely to increase sanctions and diplomatic efforts aimed at weakening this bloc. Tougher economic sanctions could strain the economies of Iran and Russia, making them reconsider the benefits of their partnership with China. Diplomatic efforts to isolate or divide the bloc might succeed if any of the member nations begin to feel that their alliance is becoming more of a burden than a benefit. What's next for the global order? Looking ahead, the impact of a stronger China-Iran-Russia alliance could be significant, potentially leading to a new era of global rivalry similar to the Cold War. If this alliance continues to strengthen, it could challenge the current global power structure, creating a world where the West, led by the United States, faces off against a new Eastern bloc. This could increase tensions in regions where the interests of these powers clash, from the Middle East and Eastern Europe to Southeast Asia and Africa. There's also the possibility that other nations might join this bloc. Countries that feel sidelined or threatened by Western policies might see an opportunity to strengthen their position by aligning with China, Iran, and Russia. This could lead to the formation of a larger coalition of nations, united not by shared beliefs, but by a common opposition to Western dominance. Such a coalition would significantly change the balance of power in international relations, leading to a more divided and competitive global landscape. The long-term consequences of this emerging alliance are difficult to predict, but they will undoubtedly shape the future of global economics and geopolitics. For other nations caught between these power blocs, the risks and opportunities are significant. Countries may find themselves forced to choose sides, navigating a complex web of alliances and rivalries that could redefine global trade, security, and diplomacy. The world is entering a new chapter, one where the rules are being rewritten and the outcomes are far from certain. Whether this leads to a more stable, multipolar world or a return to Cold War-style tensions will depend on how these powers manage their relationships with each other and the rest of the world. Conclusion: the emerging alliance between China, Iran, and Russia is more than just a marriage of convenience. It's a strategic realignment that could reshape the global order. As these nations grow closer, they challenge the status quo and create new uncertainties for the future. Whether this bloc will usher in a new era of global cooperation or conflict remains to be seen. But one thing is clear: the world is watching and the balance of power is shifting. If you found this video thought-provoking, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We want to hear your views. Do you think this alliance will succeed in challenging Western dominance? What are the potential risks and rewards for the rest of the world? Join the conversation in the comments below. This is your economics buddy, bringing you the latest insights on global economics and geopolitics. See you in the next video.